Pre-money valuation is the valuation of your company before an investor invests in you. Hence, the word pre. Pre is before, so pre-money is before you include the investment money into your company's valuation. For post-money, post is after. It's a valuation after the investor has invested in your company. That's the basic understanding of pre and post money. But what do they mean? Let's look at an example here. Say you're meeting an investor, and the investor asks, if I invest $250,000, how much shares will I get? Naturally, you will reply, you say that, oh, I will give you 25% shares. What it means in that conversation is that you are valuing your company at $1 million. Why? It's because $25,000 is actually 25% of $1 million. So total company value is actually $1 million. This generally means your post-money valuation. The amount of valuation after this amount of money has been invested into your company. So post-money valuation includes the amount of money that was invested. And because if you look at the conversation here, it says that if I invest this much of money, I will get this much of shares. Hence, post-money valuation. However, your pre-money valuation is lesser than this. Remember, you always want to have higher company valuation. So, your pre-money valuation is excluding this amount of money. So, it's 1 million post-money valuation minus $250,000, which is invested by the investor. So you only have the balance of $750,000. This is your pre-money valuation. This is smaller, this is bigger. Remember, you always want to strike a bigger company valuation. Now, to understand it better, the difference between pre and post money, here's a table to illustrate that. So, assuming that we are taking pre-money valuation at 1 million as well as post-money at 1 million here. So if you look at this table here, if we calculate it based on pre-money valuation, the founder, which owned the value of shares of 1 million, which is 80% of the total shares, and the investor, which we spoke to just now, who will invest $250,000 would get 20% shares. And finally, your new valuation will be $1.25 million here. So this is the total new valuation, new post-money valuation for your company, because it is a post-money valuation now because the investor has invested this amount of money. Now you look at post-money valuation here. If you calculate your valuation right at the end here, which is 1 million, you only end up with 75% shares with a value of this, while the investor actually would own 25%, which is equal to the amount of money he invested. So if you compare pre and post, 25, 20, 80, 75, obviously you actually own less of the company if you use a post-money valuation. And investor actually owns bigger percentage of your company for post-money compared to pre-money. So the new valuation here also shows that your new post-money valuation is 1.25, which is higher, which is better. Again, you want to strike for higher company valuation. But For post-money, your valuation is still 1 million. So it's always favorable for you to use pre-money valuation when you talk to investors. Now let's revisit our previous example. So now if an investor asks you, how much shares are you going to give them if they invest in $250,000? You will want to say that you actually will give 20% shares. Because previously you remember that you mentioned that we want to give 25%. Because now, if you calculate it back, your company's valuation will be 1.25 million. Previously, it was 1 million. So this is the new post-money valuation. Instead of 1 million, it becomes 1.25 million. So what we could understand from the previous scenario is that post-money valuation is more commonly used than pre-money because it is easier to understand, but it may not be the most favorable term for you. You should instead use pre-money. Now here's another reason. When you use post-money, you're basically telling your investors that that is the end. That is the final valuation that you're offering him. You are leaving no more room for negotiation because that's the final post-money valuation based on the money that they will invest. However, if you say pre-money, you're actually telling him that the valuation before they invest into you. So you can still have rooms to play with. You can still change your valuation. So you can still add more valuation while you are negotiating with the investor. When, say for example, during your negotiation process, which may take quite a while, you may have a new customer or a new client, a new important client, which should increase your company's valuation tremendously. So that way you can actually leave room for further negotiation. Compared to post-money is the final valuation, including the investment amount of money. So remember, always try to use pre-money. Now, pre-money also sounds better for investors because pre-money is smaller than post-money. Remember, pre-money equals to post-money minus the invested amount. So when you tell investor a smaller valuation, obviously it sounds better to their ears.